Cindy. Shannon. Can I talk? Yeah, talk.
Go ahead, Auntie.
Okay. So you close your eyes and invite Rama into your heart so that you can walk with him through this today's class and experience what he experiences. We'll chant Om 3 times. Breathe in. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So now we are coming to the last part of the Aaranya Kanda, where Ravana takes Sita to his palace in Lanka. He has reached Lanka. So he wanted to show her all the wealth and power he had. So he took her. He had a 7-storied building. That was not much compared to today. But anyway, the doors were all plated with gold and they had pearls and jewels all over the floor and doors and walls and knobs and everything. So even though she was not terribly interested, he wanted to take her around to show her what she could get if only she agreed to what he wanted. So he tells her there are about 32 crores. Crores means a number of millions. I wouldn't know because my head doesn't go beyond 10,000. So many crores of monsters, Rakshasas in my kingdom. And beyond that, I have 1,000 of them at my beck and call. So he says the entire administration of the state as well as my life will be consecrated to you. He says, you're more valuable to me than all these women who are my wives. So just show your grace to me because I'm so stricken with love, he says. And then he says, even the gods cannot come into Lanka and try to touch you. And she says, he says to her, you must have gone to the forest because of some mistake you did in some lifetime of yours. Having gone there, that karma is over. Now you've got good karma and you come here and you live as my wife and we'll have a nice good time because after all, youth is fleeting. Why do you want to waste time waiting for some chap in the forest to go back home? And why don't you just get married and live here? So, and then he also tells her that even if you're worried about the Shastras, you don't have to be bothered because there is a Shastra injunction which says that if a woman wants to marry a second time, if she is abducted by a Rakshasa or one of these monsters like this and brought home, then it is acceptable as a Rakshasa marriage. But actually he uses it for his own benefit because that doesn't mean a marriage of a woman who's already married. It means if a virgin is kidnapped, then it can be agreed upon by the Shastras. So what does she do? In those days, they say that a woman who is married, young, will not speak to another man except in the presence of a third person. So, in small villages those days, you don't want unpleasantness, people saying things and all that. So she didn't have anybody else to put between her and Ravana. So she took a piece of straw and she kept it between him and her just to go according to the Shastras. And she tells him that you won't be allowed to escape alive, Ravana, she says, because Rama will come and he'll tear your body with his arrows. And she says, death has arrived at your door because you have laid violent hands on me. And he says, she tells him, people who are getting ready to die will suddenly lose their head and they'll do all sorts of stupid things that will lead to a confused mind. So that will lead to their own, hasten their death. And she says, so don't try to seduce me. I cannot be seduced because this is the man I love. This is the man I'm married to. And you are nowhere near where he is. So he hands her over to some of the Rakshashi women there and he tells them, keep harassing her. And the strategy is first make her scared by saying things. And after that, be a little conciliatory and pleasant to her. So you do this. You know how we do the good police, bad police stuff? He's telling them, do that. And sooner or later, she'll weaken and she'll agree. And then he tells her, I'll give you 12 months. Within those 12 months, if you don't agree to be my wife, I'll cut you up and have you for breakfast. Because he's a monster, you see, in any case. So you can see the amount of the sort of love he has. So she is altogether very upset and she's taken to this beautiful park sort of place called Ashokavana. And when she is sitting there, the gods tell Indra, that is the illumined mind. The enlightened mind is called Indra. He is the controller of the indriyas, the sense organs. It's the mind that tells your eyes what to look at. It's the mind that tells your ears what to listen to. Mind that says, taste that particular thing. It's good, it's nice, it's pleasant. And it takes you on a nice, good ride. So this mind which is illumined, which has buddhi, not manas as much, is called Indra, the king of gods. So the other gods, the other energies in the universe tell Indra, go and take to Sita because she hasn't eaten anything and she's very despondent. Go and take her the sort of food that you would use for an oblation for the sacrificial fire, meaning she's like fire herself. So give her the oblation of rice, milk and sugar, like a kheer that they make it. And take it to her and put the monsters to sleep so they don't see this happening. And see that she doesn't feel hungry for the next 12 months. So he takes this to Sita and he tells her that I'm going to give you this kheer and you have it and you won't feel hungry for 12 months. You don't have to depend on any of these people to feed you. So having seen how Ravana changed his dress, his form and everything, she was a little suspicious. So she said to Indra, how do I know that you're really Indra? How do I know you're not one of these Rakshasas or demons who are changing their form every now and then? How do I know you're Indra? So Indra says, I'll give you proof. And it is said that these small demigods, that is the smaller powers, if they take form, they don't blink their eyelids and they stand a little above the ground. They don't touch the ground like angels. So he shows her how he stands a bit above the ground and how he is not blinking at her. And then she sees him and she is sort of like satisfied that this is really Indra. And he says that eat this, and once you eat this, you won't be hungry for another 12 months till you meet Rama. Now, how can that happen suddenly? You got to think about this. You know, Jesus, yeah, okay. Jesus says, when he's tempted devil, Jesus says, man shall not live by bread alone, but from every word that comes from God's mouth. You see, when he's tempted in the wilderness and the devil comes to him, that's his own inner mind, comes to him and tells him, why don't you make these stones into bread? You've got the siddhi. Then you can eat it. Why do you want to bother? So he says, man does not live by bread alone. So you've got to understand this sentence in that context and this context of Sita. Because she is a person who has handled her panchabhutas. The physical body hunger she has handled. She has gone into her sukshma sharira anyway. The sukshma sharira does not need food to survive. It can survive on just the vibrations of pranava, omkar. That's why you see some of these siddhas, they will not eat food for days together when they are in samadhi. Sometime even today, the Jain monks will not eat for months together. They won't drink water for months together, but yet they survive. It's because they have that sort of a siddhi where they have cut their links with the physical body. They moved into the spiritual or the sukshma sharira, subtle body, which does not need this prana to live, the prana that comes from the food. They are united with the Mahaprana, which is there in the Omkar, the Pranava. And the Omkar vibration keeps nourishing their Sukshma Sharira. They don't need to eat food. That's what they're actually meaning when they say that. And then she has that food, and then he tells her, now I'll be going and you don't have to worry because Rama will definitely come along with Lakshmana and protect you, take you back, because here I am Indra. That's the enlightened mind. He said, I am Indra and I have the power to help him cross the ocean and come, and I certainly will help him. So she's very happy on hearing that. And then what happens is, in the meanwhile, Rama and Lakshmana meet up. You know, Lakshmana is, I told you how Lakshmana and Rama meet up, and then Rama asks Lakshmana, why did you come here? Why did you leave Sita alone in the forest? And then Lakshmana says, he gets annoyed with Lakshmana actually for leaving her. But Lakshmana says, I couldn't help it. She said that I tried to tell her that nothing could defeat you, but then she was so anxious. And she said to me that I'm waiting for you to die so that I could seduce you. And that was too hurtful to my ears. And then she said she would attempt suicide if I didn't go immediately. And that's why I left. So in any case, Rama and Lakshmana, they exchange notes. And they go to the hermitage. They find Sita is not there. And then Rama and Sita, Lakshmana and Rama together start searching for her. And then you have 17 chapters on Rama's grief. It's a very important thing. How this man who did not even bother when he was going to be coronated as the king, and the next day sent off in exile, and he was so detached and equanimous, and here he is crying for his spouse. Now, this is specifically to show you that just as much as a devotee is yearning to reach the Paramatma, the divine is equally yearning to reach the devotee. So God cries for the devotee just as much as the devotee cries for God. In fact, God cries more for the devotee than the devotee does for God, because God is telling you, here I'm giving you this, I'm giving you this, I'm giving you hardship, I'm giving you everything that you need to start looking for me, and even then you're not looking for me. What else am I to do? So, to show that the divine also is grieving for the Atma, the soul, to merge with him, they give this 17 chapters of Rama's grief, and they show him asking the birds, the plants, the trees, the deer that are there, do you know where Sita is? Do you know where Sita is? That's also to show how he is in touch with his own cosmic consciousness. So when he asks the trees and the birds and the animals, it is he answering through them that we don't know, we don't know. And then he asks the river Godavari, because it was Godavari where they used to bathe and do their rituals. So he asks this river Godavari, do you know where she is gone? She could have gone only crossing you. And the Godavari is so frightened of Ravana that that river doesn't open its mouth and tells him anything. So she is cursed not by him but by nature, that she knew the truth and she did not say it. So she's cursed that no woman will be named after Godavari until another woman with her name comes into the world, and who becomes such a great devotee of Vishnu that she takes away the sin that Godavari did by not saying the truth even though she knew it. So that woman was called Kodai or Goda, and she later came to be one of the mystic devotees of the south called Andal. Her name was Goda. And till then, nobody was given the name Godavari. So then, with all this happening, Rama is searching and searching, and at one point he gets so upset, so angry. And you know, if in one of the qualities of Rama, you saw that when he gets angry, even the gods tremble. So he was so angry, he tells Ravana that I'm going to annihilate this entire universe unless the gods give me Sita today. Now, he says, I cannot go without her. He knotted his matted hair, he tied his um, dress tight, and he took up the bow, and he, usually who so calm and equanimous, he was trembling with rage. And at that point, it was Lakshmana who comes and counsels him. Lakshmana says, look, Rama, you are the model of dharma. If you go and annihilate the whole world because one person made a mistake, what is the model you are setting for the people who come after you and who have problems, who have other crises in their life? You being such a great soul, if you can do it, what about the common man? Everybody gets difficulty and happiness. It's an ongoing process. And if this is how you're going to handle it, then you're doing adharma. And you were the one who taught me one should not go on the path of adharma. What you need to do is, let's find the person who is specifically responsible for taking Sita, and let's go fight with him and annihilate him. Why are you going to put the whole world out of? Why hurt everybody else because of your hurt? So then Rama immediately cools down, and he says, yeah, I think you're right, let's go. So now you tell me, there are so many characters in the Ramayana that you have all seen till now. Who was the one character who could not stay without seeing Rama? All the time the thought in this person's mind was about Rama. Rama had to be seen by this person. Who would you think it is? Any guesses?
Lakshmana.
No?
Ravana.
Bharata uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Bharata.
No? Bharata went back. He's not seeing him.
Okay.
Dasharatha.
Oh,
When he couldn't see Rama, he died. He just gave up his life. He left. You see? So, such was the so these are the characters. When you get into the Ramayana, walk with the people in the Ramayana, feel their moods, then you'll get to understand so many of this. So it's after this happened that Rama and Lakshmana meet Jatayu. I told you the story last time, how they then cremate the bird that had fought with Ravana. I did tell you, right? And then they cremate the bird, and the bird, as it is, he allows the bird to get moksha, to go to the highest of liberated areas. And then when all this happened, then they continued on their way. And as they were going, they saw another monster coming towards them. This was an unusual monster. It had just a trunk and no head, no legs. In the trunk was one eye, one fierce big eye, and a mouth. And on the sides of the trunk, there were two hands that were much longer than the body, about 8 miles long each hand. And it was a huge, huge monster, like a little mountain. So as it kept coming towards them, they saw the hands reaching out, catching deer, stuffing it in his mouth, catching a tiger, stuffing in his mouth, and eating it, that sort of thing. So Lakshmana was usually is a very brave person, and suddenly he started quaking on the inside. He said, times are really bad for us because we've been sent to the forest and then Sita's got stolen, and now here's this monster coming. It's going to eat us up definitely. And if it eats us up and we would never have found Sita, and what happens to Sita? What sort of a mess have we got into? So Rama tells Lakshmana here, he said, don't lose your cool. Let's see what we can do. He said, time is like that. There are good times and bad times. And when bad times comes, everybody will go through a crisis. But we have to use our wits and handle it to some extent. We have the skills. Let us not just sit back. So what do is they go to this ogre, this huge monster, and they say, who are you? So the ogre says, my name is Kabanda. And he looks very cruel and terrible. And he says, and who are you? So Lakshmana then tells Kabanda all about Rama, who he is and how he came to the jungle and how his wife Sita was kidnapped. While he is saying all this, this Kabanda with his two arms catches hold of the two brothers and squeezes them tight. And Lakshmana is almost in tears. He says, I told you we shouldn't come near him and tell him. So when this was happening, Rama and Lakshmana are caught by this Kabanda, and then they are talking to themselves and they say, we've got an opportunity. That's what Lakshmana says. He's caught us in both his arms. Each of us can cut one arm. You cut the side on which he's holding you, and the other one will cut the other side. And in the bargain, we can make him helpless. So they immediately, each one, Rama cuts off one arm and the other one, Lakshmana cuts off the other arm, and without the arm, it falls, this monster falls on the ground with such a big thud that the trees around him also fall, and it makes such a huge noise because it's like a little mountain actually. And then he tells these people, he says, let me tell you how I'm in this form and what the story is. He says, once I was in heaven. I was one of the smaller deities, like a Siddhi I had. And I was very handsome to look at. I was mighty. I had all the skills. And on top of all that, I was so arrogant about the skills that I had. So I thought nobody in the world could have such skills. So I said, I'm stronger than even Indra. Now, Indra is the enlightened mind. This is a mind with Siddhi, this man. And the Siddhi that he has got makes him feel is better than the wisdom of the illumination. So he goes to fight with Indra. And Indra gets angry and throws his thunderbolt at him. So his legs and his head get crushed into his trunk. And that's how he gets that trunk with the everything inside except the eye that is outside. And Indra further curses him that you're such an abominable chap because you had everything going for you, and just because you were arrogant and vain because of all that you had, and you want to be ugly like this, be ugly. Who cares? He says. So now Kabanda is got his monster form. And then he couldn't keep quiet, you see. So he went round and there was some sage who was meditating somewhere. He would go and stand behind them and say, boo. And they would suddenly get up from their meditation, look at him, and he'll frighten them. And sometimes he would eat them up also. So one of these sages was a very wise and very powerful person who just looked meek because they're all ahimsa people. So when he looked at him, he said, you did a lot of penance and that's why you got so many benefits for looking good and mighty and powerful and all that. But instead of being happy with what you had, you went on creating havoc, fighting with Indra and all that, who cursed you. So let me give you another curse. You wanted to live forever. Okay, well, you live forever as long as time goes on with the same form. So suddenly this man gets scared. He says, if I have this form, how will I eat? How will I sustain myself? You're saying I'm going to live forever. He says, I'll make your arms longer and you can catch anything on the way and eat it. So now he's suddenly full of remorse. He says, please, I'm so sorry. I won't do this sort of thing again. My pride is gone. Do something about it. So this rishi says, when Rama and Lakshmana come to the forest many, many years later, and each of them will cut off your arms and then they will cremate you. And when you are cremated, you will get back your original good body and you will help them out. Or it's like a deal. So he says, okay. And he tells Rama this and he says, you know why I've been catching everybody and eating them up? With the faint hope that one of them will be Rama and you will come and release me from this body. So now that you cut off my arms, I know you are actually Rama. So please cremate me. And after you cremate me, when my natural body comes, I will help you. With this body, I cannot help you because I don't know, I have no memory, I have no consciousness. So Rama and Lakshmana put him into a pit and then they put firewood and then they cremate him, and out of this fire comes out a very beautiful, a handsome chap made of light, and then he comes up and he says, listen to me, I know how you're suffering for Sita and I'll tell you how to get her. If you go along this way, you'll come to a mountain called Rishyamukh. And on this mountain is a king called Sugriva. He's a monkey and he lives with 4 of his other monkeys. And he says, I know one thing in the world is that if you want to get help, you will get help from somebody who has gone through a similar type of misery. Sugriva has gone through something like that because he is dispossessed of the kingdom by his brother Vali. So he will feel helpful towards you. So you make friends with him and don't just say, I'm your friend. Make an oath in front of the fire. In front of the fire, it's like a havan and fire sacrifice, and you make a sankalpa. You can't you can't do anything beyond it. So he says, make that, and he will tell you because he has traveled a lot. Why has he traveled? Because he was running away from Vali, and this was the only place where Vali could not reach him due to a curse. So he's gone all around the world. He knows where these Rakshasas live. He will be able to tell you where Sita has been carried away, and you will be able to get her back. I know, I can see through my subtle vision because he's now got his Sukshma Sharira, you see. And I can see that you will come back safe with Sita. But don't forget, go and make friends with him and make a deal with him. So Rama and Lakshmana said they're very happy, and then this man is, the soul is flying, and even as it reaches a height, it tells Rama that don't forget, go and make friends, make an ally of Sugriva, it will help you. So Rama and Lakshmana are happy. They set out to look for Sugriva. As they are walking, they come to a mountain some days later. And this mountain, by the side of it flows what is called the Pampa River. Now, the Pampa River is somewhere down south near Kerala. It's a place where all these people with black dresses go for to see the deity called Ayyappa, if you have noticed. There's people from all over the world will go to see Ayyappa. And Ayyappa is a form of Shiva and Vishnu together, a child of both of them. So he says near that, because Kabanda has told them that near that place will be Rishyamukh mountain. So these two people, the Rama and Lakshmana, are going. And as they go, they come to what is called the Matangavana. Matangavana originally belonged to a rishi called Matanga Muni. Now this is very interesting, especially to Shannon. Matanga Muni was a Brahmin, and he was driving a cart, and the cart had it was drawn by a donkey and its foal, the child, and this man was beating the foal pretty roughly. And the foal asks its mother, the donkey, why is he so cruel? Why is he hurting me so much? And the mother says, the donkey says to its child, he says, what else can you expect from a person who is a Chandala? Chandala means one who is beyond the four caste systems. What was then called the untouchable. The untouchable was a Chandala, meaning that a person who has gone beyond the limits of civilized living, beyond the limits of humanity, who would hurt people, who would be drunk all the time, who would only eat dog's meat and things like that. So they had nothing to do with them at those days. So now this man, Matanga, is very surprised. He asks the donkey, he says, you seem to be very intelligent and you seem to know me very well, but I'm born in a Brahmin family. Why do you call me a Chandala? So the donkey says to him, because you don't know, at one time you were born in a family of Brahmins. Those days a Brahmin did not mean born a Brahmin. It meant a person who knew Brahman was a Brahmin. You could be a Brahmin tomorrow, you could be a Chandala today, you could be a Kshatriya the other day. It all depended on your karma and your gunas. So it's a changing scenario. So he said, your mother at one time, when she was intoxicated, she went and slept with a Chandala Baba. And that is why you are born of that Chandala barber, and your quality is coming out the way you're hurting the baby of the donkey. Now, Matanga, who was till now so happy with who he was as a Brahmajnani, was suddenly upset when he heard he's actually a Chandala. So he wanted to be elevated. So what he did was he stopped everything and he went and did very, very austere penance. He did this austere penance for about 100 years. And having done it for 100 years, he went to Indra, that is the enlightened mind. They said, okay, now I'm qualified to be a Brahmana. Indra said, no, you're not yet qualified. I can't take you in. Because the enlightened mind within you knows when you are eligible. It's not somebody outside. So this Matanga is very upset. He goes back and they say he did penance for another 1,000 years. He stood on one toe for 100 years. And again he went to Indra. And Indra said, buddy, I can't let you be a Brahmana, but I can give you a few siddhis. You can travel anywhere you want, and you can take any form you want. This much I can do for you. You'll have to do much more penance than this. So Matanga went back, and then he felt that his penance was going well, but somehow he was not wise enough. You know, it's a wisdom that makes a man a Brahmajnani. He's a jnana, person who knows what Brahman is, what the cosmic supreme is. So he then prays, he does a penance to Maha Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of wisdom. And she is born as his daughter. That's how they say it in the stories. What they mean is, she is born within him. And because she is born of Matanga Muni, she is called Matangi. Because the Mata means thought. Matangi is the thinking mind. Thinking not as in logical thinking, the intuitive thinking. So this is Matangi. And because she's so powerful, before you do a puja to even Shiva, you have to do puja to Matangi. Because the rest of the story is that on one occasion Shiva is married to Shakti, Parvati, who is one of the forms of the goddesses and of Matangi. So she says to Shiva, I'll go to my parents' house and come. So he says, okay, you stay there, I'll come and pick you up. So she went to her father's place, and one day Shiva wanted to test if she was really true to him. So he comes as a ornament seller, and he sells her some ornaments. And as when she says, how much do I pay you? He says, you don't pay me money, but you've got to sleep with me. So she's disgusted. But then when she looks into her intuitive mind, she realizes that this is actually her husband Shiva. So she tells him, okay, but then I'll choose the time, I'll come to you in the evening. So she goes to the place where he is, dressed as a Chandala woman, Chandali. And when she goes there, he says, what have you come here for? She said, I've come to do my penance. So he says to her, don't you know, I'm the one who gives you the fruits of your penance. So she says, okay, then they sleep together. He becomes a Chandala and they sleep together. So then she says that when you say sleep together in those days, you mean merging of the spirits. It's not a physical act, because both are gods and goddesses. So when they merge together, she says, because of my wisdom and my power, let me always be worshipped in this form as a Chandali, and let me be worshipped before you are worshipped. So that is how she is called Uchishta Chandali. Matangi is called Uchishta Chandali. Uchishta means, usually people say after you eat food, something is left behind on the plate, the leftover sort of, which you have polluted with your spittle and things like that. That is Uchishta. Now, what they mean here is, it's a very esoteric meaning. They say that here is this divinity, and she comes into you and gives you a certain skill in wisdom and language and music and all this. In spite of the amount that she gives you, she is still the leftover in the higher dimension. That she doesn't become any the less for giving herself to you. She continues as the leftover of the giving, which is a completeness in itself. So that's what they mean when they call her Uchishta Chandali. And she is usually said to be the consort of Ganapati. Ganapati is called Matanga because elephants are called Matangas. So this place where he is, they call it Matangavana because that place is surrounded by elephants. So what do they mean here? The elephant actually is symbolic of the Pranava, the Omkar, because they say that when the first Omkar, the first sound of the beginning of creation happened, it was like a trumpeting of an elephant. For want of a better word, this is how they described it. So Ganapati with the elephant head symbolizes that Pranava or the beginning trumpeting. So when they say that there were a lot of elephants around his hermitage, what they meant was that the whole hermitage was vibrating with the sound of Omkar. And because it was vibrating with the sound of Om, all animals and everything that came in there, the trees were producing beautiful fruits, flowers were always in bloom. The lion and the deer could drink together without fighting with each other because they were always in complete harmony, being in the field of Pranava. So that's how powerful Matanga was. And Matanga then leaves his body. But before he leaves his body, he has a disciple called Shabri. Now, Shabari was a tribal girl. I've told you the story occasionally. Very ugly, absolutely ugly, that the family disowned her. When she was about 13, 14 years old, they wanted to get her married so she'd be out of the family. They got her married, and you know, in India, the bride covers her face with a uh, veil during the marriage. So nobody saw her face. In the evening, they set camp by the river, the same Pampa river. And when she stopped and she went in to wash her face and refresh herself, she removed the veil, put it on top, and washed her face. The bridegroom saw her reflection in the water, in the river, and he ran away with all his people. He said, I don't want this girl. She's far too ugly. I can't stay with this. So this girl was twice rejected now. She didn't know where else to go. 13-year-old girl, ugly as hell, sort of. And she felt herself drawn towards Matanga's hermitage, near where she lived. So when she goes there and she knocks at the gate, the disciples come out and some of them scream and run away. The more courageous ones hang around and they say, what do you want? So she says, I want to know whose hermitage this is because I feel a longing to be part of it. I'm at peace here because it has a pranava mantra. So the same vibration as in all creation. So they say, our Guru will not see a woman. Go away, go away. So she goes away and she stays and she watches and she sees that the Guru gets up in the morning, early morning, and he goes to the river to have his bath, and then he would come back and do, standing in the water, he will do some penance and he goes back to the hermitage. So what she did was she thought if she came in front of the Guru, anyway, he won't see her. That's what the disciples say. And on top of that, if he looks at her, he might get scared and run away. So she'll have nothing to go back to. But his presence is very calming. So what she does is every morning she gets up very early and she would sweep that path from his hermitage to the river Pampa. And she would strew flowers on it in different patterns. So the Guru, when he got up the next day, he looked at it and said, nobody's ever done this before for me, because the disciples don't get up before him in the first place. So he asks the disciples, he said, who has swept this place and kept all the flowers? And she says, and the disciples say, we don't know because before we get up, it's already done. So the Guru gets up earlier the next day and earlier the day after that. But whenever he comes, he says, it's already done. So one day he gets up earlier than ever before and he catches her sweeping the floor. And he asks her, who are you? Now he didn't run away with fright. So she explained her situation to him and she said, this is who I am. And I had nothing else to do. I was so drawn to this place because of some vibration that is very comforting to me. So he tells her, from today you are my disciple. He gives her Diksha. He says, say the Ram Nam, that is your mantra. Just say Rama, Rama, Rama. One day Rama will come to your house and you will host him. That's all he said to her, but he gave her his blessing. And when he gave her his blessing, then she went and she stayed apart and she continued doing that mantra, Ramanama, every single day. In the morning, she would go and pick fresh fruits, thinking Rama may come today. And she'll keep all these fruits for him. And then when Rama doesn't come in the evening, she would take it, put it out, and then next morning again she'll get up with full hope and earnestness. She was never defeated. So she did this for years together. Started when she was 13, 14. And when she was about 108 or 12 or something like that, Rama came to her house searching for Sita. This was when Rama enters. By this time, Matanga Muni had left the body. His disciples had done a lot of penance, and they had done so much penance that even Matanga, with his when he was alive, they brought the seven seas into a water body nearby, which is still there near the Pampa River, and they would have their bath in it because they were too old to go on pilgrimages to the seven oceans. So the place was there like that, and some of them even meet Rama on his journey. And then when he comes here, and then he asks this lady, he says, "Who are you?" And then she says, "My name is Shabari. This is what happened. My guru gave me this mantra, and I could have uh, had liberation at any time I wanted. But I wanted to wait and see you because I knew you would be coming." So um, he, the Rama said, okay. So they sat down. She treated him like she would do a puja, washed his feet, gave him water to drink, and all that sort of hosting. And then she said to him that she made him sit down, and she brought out her store of fruits. And now she was a little worried that maybe it's not good enough. So she bit a fruit. And as she was biting, Lakshmana gives Rama a look. That is, that if somebody bites a fruit, somebody else will not eat it those days. They were very strict. Even in some conservative households, today it's like that. It's not like we generally, pick food and share and things like that. So when Lakshmana looks at Rama, almost telling him, now what are you going to do? Because if you eat what she has bitten, you're going to go against hygienic standards, so to speak. And if you don't take it, you're going to hurt her feelings. And Shabari looked at Lakshmana giving Rama this look, and she immediately caught on, and she said, "You think this mouth is polluted? You know how many years I've been saying the Rama Nama from morning till evening, from the time I was 14 till beyond 100 years I've been saying it. Do you think this mouth and this tongue can be polluted after doing the Rama Nama?" She says. So Rama takes it from her and he eats it. And then she takes him for a round of the place, shows him the place and all that. And then she tells him, I could have had moksha, that is liberation, any time I wanted, because my guru gave me that benefit. But because I knew you were coming, I wanted to have your darshan and then go be liberated. So now that I've seen you, please give me permission to leave this physical body. So then she leaves the physical body and she goes into moksha. And this is one person that Rama did not give moksha to, but her faith in her guru gave her moksha. And Rama was a witness to her moksha. Now, there is a movie on Ramayana, and in that movie, I've got a little snippet of it, which is a description of Rama and Lakshmana going to Shabari's hermitage, and Shabari is telling Rama, she says, "Will you not take the place of my guru and tell me what is the meaning of bhakti?" So Rama will then tell her 9 forms of bhakti, and he will say, "This is what I have been taught by my guru." So this is that little snippet that Deepa will be playing for a while, and you can all see this. And that will be the end of Aaranya Kandam. So it's just about less than 5 minutes, I think. So it has English subtitles, so you can see what Rama is telling her about bhakti. Deepa, go ahead.